The studio was alive with energy, the kind of electric anticipation that only a live television show can generate. Cameras swiveled, bright lights glared down on the polished stage, and the audience clapped and cheered in rhythmic unison, a wave of excitement that filled every corner of the room. The house band played the opening riff with extra vigor, knowing that the arrival of Jelly Roll, a rapper celebrated for his raw honesty and emotionally charged lyrics, was about to set the tone for a segment that could either charm or shock. Jimmy Fallon's show was known for lighthearted banter and celebrity interviews, but today, it felt as if the air itself was charged, ready to spark. Jelly Roll walked onto the stage with a confident, measured stride, his eyes scanning the audience briefly before resting on Jimmy. His presence seemed to draw the room into a hush, a recognition that while he might smile and joke, there was an intensity behind those calm eyes, a man used to speaking his truth without compromise. He waved to the audience, and their cheers grew louder, some people standing, phones out, eager to capture every second of the moment. Jimmy bounded toward him, grinning broadly, arms open in his signature welcome gesture. "Jelly Roll, so great to have you here," he exclaimed, his voice rich with enthusiasm. Jelly Roll responded with a measured smile and a nod. "Thanks, Jimmy, I appreciate you having me." There was a brief pause as they shook hands, and the cameras caught the contrast in energy, Jimmy's effusive charm versus Jelly Roll's calm, collected demeanor. The audience seemed to recognize this contrast, the tension between the host's lighthearted approach and the guest's commanding presence, and it only amplified their attention. The conversation began casually, touching on Jelly Roll's latest album, upcoming tour dates, and behind-the-scenes stories from his music career. The audience laughed at anecdotes about studio sessions, impromptu collaborations, and the occasional mishap on the road. Jelly Roll laughed with them, though his chuckles carried a careful restraint, hinting that he was always aware of the fine line between playful banter and personal intrusion. For the first several minutes, the segment flowed smoothly, an exchange of humor and charm that seemed to promise a relaxed, entertaining interview. But the mood began to shift subtly when Jimmy, with a practiced ease, moved the discussion toward more personal territory. "So, Jelly Roll," he began, voice cheerful but probing, "people say your lyrics are intense. Some might even call them controversial. How do you respond to that?" Jelly Roll's eyes narrowed slightly, and his body stiffened just enough to signal that he was ready for a more serious conversation. "I speak my truth," he said calmly, voice steady. "My music is my life, my experiences, my reality. If people misinterpret it or take offense, that's their choice. I can't, and I won't, dilute who I am to make others comfortable." The audience leaned forward, sensing the tension that had begun to creep into what had started as a lighthearted segment. Jimmy, sensing the change, attempted to redirect the tone with a light laugh. "Sure, but some folks think your public posts or lyrics might go a little far. Don't you ever worry about what people think of you?" Jelly Roll's eyes locked onto Jimmy's, unwavering, his posture straightening. "Worry," he repeated, a hint of incredulity in his tone. "Jimmy, I don't live my life in fear of opinions. I make music that's honest. If it resonates, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I'm not here to please everyone." The audience reacted audibly, murmuring and shifting in their seats as they recognized the intensity building. Laughter from earlier had faded, replaced by a charged silence. Jimmy attempted to maintain control, leaning in with practiced charm. "Well, you're definitely keeping it real," he said, chuckling lightly. But Jelly Roll's smile was polite and fleeting. "Real isn't always entertaining," he replied evenly. "Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's raw. That's life. You can't just dress everything up to make it palatable." Jimmy tried to navigate carefully, referencing a recent social media post Jelly Roll had made. "Some people thought your post might have crossed a line. Don't you think maybe you should have toned it down a bit?" Jelly Roll's calm cracked for the first time, his voice rising just enough to carry authority, though not anger. "Toned it down? Jimmy, I don't chase approval. I don't shape my life or my art to avoid criticism. I am who I am. I've earned my voice, and I won't compromise it for comfort or entertainment." The audience was completely captivated now. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the room, and the energy shifted from excitement to tense anticipation. Jimmy, visibly caught off guard, attempted to diffuse the situation with humor. "All right, maybe we can just talk about your new album then." But Jelly Roll held up a hand, cutting him off with firm authority. "No, we're done pretending. If you want honesty, you get it all or nothing. I don't dance around uncomfortable truths for ratings. I'm not here to play games." His words were measured but charged, carrying the weight of someone unafraid to stand their ground. The audience, sensing the escalation, held their breath. Some leaned forward, some whispered, all captivated by the rare intensity unfolding live before them. The cameras captured the tension in every frame, the slight widening of Jimmy's eyes, the subtle shifts in the audience's posture, the set staff frozen mid-motion. Jelly Roll's gaze remained unflinching, his voice unwavering, projecting a calm authority that contrasted sharply with the escalating tension. Every pause, every deliberate word, seemed magnified in the studio, amplifying the gravity of the moment. Finally, after a moment of silence thick with anticipation, Jelly Roll slowly rose from his chair. The audience gasped, a wave of applause mixed with shock as they realized what was happening. Jimmy opened his mouth, as if to respond, but Jelly Roll's calm yet commanding presence left no room for interruption. He stepped forward, straightened his shoulders, and walked toward the exit with deliberate precision. Cameras followed, capturing the moment of a man asserting control in an environment designed for entertainment, turning the stage into a platform for integrity and principle. The moment Jelly Roll disappeared backstage, the studio was alive with a mixture of disbelief, awe, and frantic energy. Producers hurriedly whispered into headsets, assistants darted back and forth, and the crew scrambled to recalibrate cameras and lighting. The live broadcast continued, but the air was thick with tension. The audience, still reeling from Jelly Roll's abrupt walkout, murmured and shifted in their seats. Some clapped nervously, unsure whether to cheer for his boldness or simply process the raw intensity of the exchange. Others pulled out their phones, already capturing footage of the departure that would inevitably spread online within seconds. Backstage, Jelly Roll moved calmly through the controlled chaos, his presence still commanding despite the swirling flurry of production staff around him. His publicist hurried to catch up, voice high with urgency. "Jelly, maybe you should say something, clarify, explain what happened, manage the narrative." Jelly Roll shook his head, interrupting her with a quiet authority that left no room for debate. "No," he said, evenly. "The statement is the walkout itself. I said what needed to be said. There's nothing to spin, nothing to explain." His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the frenzy around him, and even the production assistants, who were rushing past in a blur, paused to watch him, sensing the gravity of the moment. Meanwhile, the clip of the confrontation had already begun circulating on social media. Fans uploaded footage from the live audience feed, and within minutes, the video had gone viral. Comments flooded in, praising Jelly Roll for his integrity, for refusing to be cornered, and for standing firm without resorting to theatrics or anger. Hashtags like #JellyRollWalkout, #LiveTVMeltdown, and #RespectTheReal began trending across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Fans applauded his courage to speak his truth, and discussions quickly emerged, analyzing every word he had said, every pause, every deliberate gesture. Analysts dissected his calm but assertive posture, noting how he had maintained authority without aggression, a skill rarely witnessed in live television confrontations. Outside the studio, the story exploded across entertainment news sites. Headlines proclaimed, "Jelly Roll walks off Jimmy Fallon's show," "Live TV confrontation sparks viral frenzy," and "Rapper stands firm against hosts probing questions." Pundits on late-night shows replayed clips, dissecting the verbal duel with a mix of admiration and disbelief. Podcasts devoted segments to analyzing the exchange, exploring not only the tension on stage but also the cultural and social resonance of a celebrity refusing to be coerced into politeness or compromise. The incident became more than just a celebrity moment, it was a viral lesson in self-respect, authenticity, and public composure. Inside the studio, Jimmy Fallon and the production team were left to manage the fallout. Though Jimmy was famous for his quick wit and charm, even he recognized the magnitude of the moment. His usual ease had been challenged, his improvisational humor insufficient to navigate the unyielding honesty Jelly Roll had projected. The audience, meanwhile, buzzed with conversation, debating the intensity of the exchange and the rapper's decision to leave. Some applauded his courage, others were shocked at the abruptness, but all agreed that it was a moment unlikely to be forgotten. Jelly Roll, backstage, remained undisturbed by the chaos. Messages and notifications poured in from colleagues, friends, and fans, praising him for standing firm. "That's integrity," one text read. Another, "You just reminded the world that honesty isn't negotiable." Yet Jelly Roll did not respond hastily. He understood that the walkout itself had communicated everything necessary. Any additional commentary would only dilute the power of his actions. He had made his point, and he knew it. The storm of social media, press coverage, and industry chatter was simply a reflection of the impact he had made. The crew and producers, meanwhile, tried to shift the focus back to the remainder of the show. The house band played a few bars to regain a lighter tone, and Jimmy attempted to pivot to other segments. However, the tension lingered. The audience's reactions, captured in real time on the monitors, reflected a mix of admiration, curiosity, and shock. Every person in the room, from camera operators to stagehands, was acutely aware that they had just witnessed an unusual and unforgettable moment in live television. The usual flow of entertainment had been interrupted by an authentic confrontation that commanded attention. Social media continued to amplify the moment. Clips of Jelly Roll standing his ground, speaking with measured intensity,